You stand in the bathroom. The tiles are cold under your bare feet. You push the wooden door shut and hear the metal latch click into its place. 3 seconds later, a single claw slides into the narrow gap at the bottom of the door frame. There is a low, rhythmic scratching sound against the wood. You look at the handle and see it jiggle as a heavy weight leans against the exterior. Most owners believe this is a sign of a spoiled pet or a dog that is simply clingy. They assume the animal is demanding constant attention or is incapable of being alone for 60 seconds. In reality, you are witnessing 15,000 years of coevolution. This behavior is a byproduct of paedomorphosis, the retention of juvenile traits into adulthood. This interaction is not a behavioral flaw. It is a biological necessity. By the end of this video, you will understand the specific clinical term for this: proximity monitoring. Let's begin. The canine-human bond is built on a foundation of paedomorphosis. This is a biological process where an adult animal maintains the physical and behavioral traits of its juvenile state. In dogs, this manifests as a permanent attachment to a primary caregiver. This relationship is managed by the oxytocin feedback loop. Oxytocin is a neuropeptide that facilitates social bonding and lowers systemic stress. For the dog, you are the secure base. A secure base is a social partner who provides a sense of absolute environmental stability. When you are in sight, the dog's amygdala remains in a down-regulated state. The amygdala is the brain's center for detecting threats and managing fear. Proximity seeking is the primary mechanism through which the dog maintains internal homeostasis. Homeostasis is the process of keeping the body's internal systems balanced and calm. This biological drive ensures the dog remains within your sphere of influence at all times. Consider the first common scenario: the primary anchor. You stand up from the kitchen table. There are 3 other family members in the room. Your dog is lying in the corner. As you move toward the stairs, the dog ignores the other people and follows exactly 2 paces behind your left heel. You assume the dog likes you best. You believe this choice is based on personal affection or a favorite status you have earned through treats. But a 2014 MRI study in the journal Behavioral Processes found a specific neurological trigger. The research showed that the scent of the primary owner triggered 100% activation in the caudate nucleus. The caudate nucleus is the brain's primary reward center associated with positive expectations. When you stand up, your dog's brain initiates a high-intensity chemical scan. The vomeronasal organ detects your specific pheromone trail. This sensory data is routed to the reward centers, creating a dopamine surge. The dog is not choosing you based on affection. Their brain has categorized you as the primary source of survival data. The neurological sequence involves the suppression of the prefrontal cortex in favor of the attachment circuit. This means the dog is not making a rational choice. They are responding to a biological command to maintain contact. If the dog loses sight of you, their heart rate begins a subtle acceleration. The dog's parietal lobe is constantly mapping your coordinates in a 3-dimensional grid. The parietal lobe is the part of the brain that manages spatial awareness. When you move, this map becomes outdated, triggering a surge of norepinephrine. This chemical is a neurotransmitter that increases alertness and prompts action. The dog stands up because the brain cannot tolerate the data gap created by your movement. They are satisfying a sensory requirement. The neurological sequence moves to the caudate nucleus, where the expectation of safety is stored. As the dog closes the physical distance, the brain releases a pulse of serotonin. This chemical stabilizes the heart rate and allows the sympathetic nervous system to return to a baseline state. This constant monitoring ensures that the dog's internal homeostasis is never threatened by your sudden movement. This relationship is a moon locked into the gravitational pull of a planet. The research-supported response. Acknowledge the dog with a calm, neutral verbal cue as you move. This provides the dog with the social confirmation they need to maintain a lower state of arousal. The complexity of this bond becomes more apparent when you are behind a closed door. You are in the bathroom. You hear the dog sitting on the other side of the door. You have not made any noise. You stand up and reach for the towel. Before your hand even touches the metal bar, you hear the dog stand up and shake their collar. You believe the dog is psychic. You assume they have a sixth sense for when you are about to exit. But research into canine acoustic processing, published in Applied Animal Behavior Science, reveals a different reality. Dogs can detect human movements and identify specific individuals by footstep patterns with 90% accuracy. This is a form of acoustic signature recognition. It is the ability to identify a social partner based on the specific frequency of their movements. The dog is not psychic. They are performing a high-resolution acoustic analysis of the house. When you are behind a door, the dog's auditory cortex is in a state of hypervigilance. They are filtering out the ambient noise of the refrigerator or outside traffic. Their brain is focused on the frequency of your shifting weight. The sound of a heel lift or the rustle of clothing triggers a predictive motor response in the dog. The neurological sequence begins in the midbrain, which coordinates the shift from a resting state to readiness. As soon as the dog hears the specific micro-noise associated with your rising, their brain floods the motor cortex with acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a chemical that prepares the muscles for immediate movement. The dog is waiting at the door because their brain has already calculated the time of your exit based on previous interactions. This is a survival-based anticipation loop. The dog's heart rate increases by 10% in the seconds before you open the door. They are ready to resume the proximity monitoring task before you cross the threshold. This high-frequency auditory surveillance is a metabolic investment. The dog is spending energy to stay near you because the biological cost of losing you is higher than the energy spent waiting. They are essentially counting the seconds through sound. The dog is a radar dish locked onto a single, constant frequency. The research-supported response. Utilize a release ritual for dogs that show extreme tension. Use a consistent phrase to signal that the monitoring task can temporarily cease. This surveillance continues even as you move throughout the house. You walk from the bedroom to the laundry room to the kitchen. Each time you cross a threshold, the dog stands up and follows. They do not look for a place to rest in the new room. They stand near the door, watching you move. You assume the dog is bored and needs a walk. You believe they are hovering because they want you to provide a specific resource. But a study in Scientific Reports from the University of Arizona found that proximity seeking is a distinct evolutionary adaptation. The data showed that 70% of proximity seeking behavior is unrelated to food or exercise rewards. This is a manifestation of the social cohesion drive. It is the biological impulse to keep a group together for collective safety. This is the escort phase of the canine-human bond. The dog is not seeking a resource. They are maintaining a social buffer. When you move to a new room, the dog's internal map of the house is updated to place you at the center. The neurological sequence involves the activation of the parietal lobe. The dog's brain interprets a change in your location as a potential change in the safety of the environment. By following you, the dog ensures they do not have to search for the secure base later. This minimizes the metabolic cost of anxiety. If the dog stays in the bedroom while you are in the kitchen, their brain must work harder to monitor your location through sound or scent. By moving with you, they can enter a lower state of physiological alert. Their brain rewards the behavior with a steady release of endorphins. Endorphins are chemicals that create a sense of internal comfort. This makes the act of following intrinsically satisfying. The dog is performing a continuous health check on the social unit. They are verifying your presence to ensure their own HPA axis can remain in a downregulated state. The dog's eyes track the micro-movements of your hands. They are looking for cues of departure or interaction. This constant surveillance is a high-energy task that only ends when you sit down for an extended period. The dog is a shadow that cannot exist without its source of light. The research-supported response. Build healthy independence by teaching a place command. Reward the dog for staying in a different room for short intervals to improve their internal self-regulation. The proximity monitoring behavior is the ultimate expression of the canine-human evolutionary contract. It is the reason the dog survived, while the wolf remained at the periphery of civilization. Why does she follow you into the bathroom? Because for 15,000 years, she has been programmed to be an eternal juvenile. Dogs are paedomorphic wolves. They have traded the independence of an adult apex predator for the permanent attachment of a puppy. This is not a failure of character or a lack of intelligence. It is a biological trade-off that has made them the most successful social partners in human history. When you see that paw slide under the bathroom door, you are not looking at a clingy animal. You are looking at a nervous system that has been biologically engineered to treat your presence as its only source of safety. The 2014 MRI study proved that your scent is their primary reward. The 2016 acoustic study proved they are listening to the very rhythm of your life. The Arizona study proved they follow you not for food, but for the stability of the bond itself. They are not monitoring your privacy. They are monitoring their own survival. They have spent 15 millennia learning that the world is only safe when they are exactly where you are. Out of every room in the house and every person in the world, the dog's brain has made a definitive, nightly, and daily choice. They choose the coordinates where you stand. This proximity is the mechanism that allows them to rest. Without you in sight, the dog is a system without a regulator. With you, they are home. The behavior you once called a nuisance is actually the chemical signature of your success as an owner. The dog has found a secure base in you. Their brain will never stop verifying its location. The dog is not following you to be annoying. She is following you to remain herself.